Right, so welcome everybody to Writing Workshop Wednesdays. Oh, hang on, I need to put in my headphones so I can hear you. Okay, so welcome. This is a weekly free event from the Nature Journal community that's all about using words to explore the world around us in our nature journals. Letting a couple more people in. So you might have heard the phrase about pencil miles in terms of drawing in your nature journals, that it's not about what a pretty picture that you can make, but just however many pencil miles you have under your belt, your skill will get better and better. And so it's the same thing with words. It's just a different kind of pencil miles. So today we're going to be working on some free writing, similar to what we've been doing the past couple of weeks. We do have some more specific themed classes coming up the next 2 weeks after this. I'll talk more about that at the end. So to start off, does everybody have something to write with? Awesome, Lori is ready to go. And I always like to say you can also use a voice recorder if you prefer, because writing is hard for some people. And if you're speaking, those are still words. So that is just as valid. So first of all, does anybody have any questions or any particular topics that you would like to have some questions answered on today? Lori?
Hi, this is just my first time here.
Oh, welcome.
Last minute. I just didn't know, in your writers' workshops, do all of you share what you've written at the end, or is it just kind of a personal thing? I'm just not sure how the hour unfolds.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for asking. And so if you're new, I'll explain is this workshop started in February of this year. And I was doing a lot of very prepared lessons with PowerPoints and specific lessons. And I still want to do, then I had to take a break for a little while. Then I recently started this back up a couple weeks ago. And so I still have a bunch of ideas for lessons like that I'm going to do in the future coming up. But sometimes it's a little bit less formal. Like today, what we've done the past couple of weeks is have some writing prompts, and we do free writing stream of consciousness for 5 minutes. Maybe we could experiment with doing one for 10 minutes if anybody's up to that challenge. And then, yeah, there's opportunities for everybody to share, but nobody has to share or to feel forced or pressured to share. So writing is something that can be very personal and very vulnerable. And no topic is off limits here. This is nature journaling, but so nature journaling is about observing the world around us in like a scientific kind of way, but also it's about our experience in nature and our emotions. And we're a part of nature. We're a part of the story that's going on. So you can also write about what's going on inside of you and what you're thinking about, which can be very personal. So you're welcome to share any part of your writing that you want to share, but you don't have to share anything if you don't want to. Does that help? All right, great. So what we've been doing the past couple of weeks, and what I think is fun is, have you ever been to an improv show and people shout out suggestions from the audience, and then the actors have to make up a scene based on that? So that's what I've been. Oh, hi, Sarah's kitty. Sorry, I love cats and I get distracted by them sometimes. Okay. What was I saying? Yeah, so I think when we're writing, the thing that I notice people have trouble with sometimes in nature journaling is that you want your nature journals to be, and this is just generally speaking, sometimes it's, it's about the process, not the final product. Near nature journaling is a place for your thinking to happen on the page in real time. But it's not about having this like perfectly composed page. And maybe for some people it's about that, and that's great, but it doesn't have to be. So thinking of it as an improvisation, as something like a spontaneous act of creation and exploration. And so stream of consciousness writing, just any thought that we have, to be able to put it in our journal. Maybe it leads to the next thought. And some of you might have heard me say this before, but I like to think about it as that any thought that I have, for me, it's easy a lot of times to just think like, oh, that's not really an important thought. It's not really like enough of anything to be worth putting down. But then when I do put it down, I get that thought out of my head and another thought pops up to take its place. And then it just keeps going on and on and on and on. And I might end up somewhere really cool and may have some insight that I never had. So to realize that all of our thoughts are important and they are worth being put down, and we can see where they take us. So we're just going to play with that again today. Does that sound good to you guys? Great. Oh, just one other thing. I heard that there was a Zoom bombing incident in Jack's class yesterday. Would anyone be willing to be co-host so you can help me out if something like that happens? Just to help keep track of the waiting room. You probably won't have to do anything.
Oh, I'd say I would, Rebecca, but I don't know I've never done it before. I wouldn't know what to do to be helpful. I'm really sorry.
Oh, well, that's very sweet of you, but thank you. Don't worry about that. Oh, so
I
yeah.
can help you out.
The same place. Like I haven't done it before, but I'm willing to try if you
All
need to.
right. Well, I'll make both of you, and then just in case, I've got you guys as backup. Yeah. So Zoom bombing is when somebody comes into the Zoom meeting and just kind of like takes over and starts putting like all this nasty stuff into the chat. And yeah, I wasn't there yesterday, but it's never a pleasant situation. So because if you've ever been to Pencil Miles and Chill, led by Ivea, she always says, our only rule here is to be kind to each other. And I also agree with that for my classes. It's the only rule is to be kind to each other, to have a community where we support each other and we're not judging each other. We're just learning and growing together from all different places around the world and all different ages. So yeah, that kind of nastiness has no place here. There we go. Okay, so now could I get some suggestions from the audience? Any kind of word related to nature?
Is everybody here from the Northern Hemisphere?
Probably because it's 3 in the, well, that's not a northern southern thing, but I know in Australia it's 3 a.m. So I'm sorry to them because this isn't a good time for them.
So I just wonder if, like, for me right now, I'm in Canada. It's cooling. We don't have much color left and everything's going to sleep. So that would be one idea, is sleep.
That's a good one. I'm just going to put that in the chat. Okay.
Or rest.
Okay. There's a bunch of great ideas here. Now I have to pick. Okay, we might, if we don't get to yours, I'm sorry. But you can always do that on your own time too. I'm from upstate New York, by the way. So yeah, let's start with sleep because you're new and you're the only person who actually said it out loud. So let's just start with that. That's, yeah, it's getting really dark out for so much of the day where I live. So I'm just gonna put a timer on for 5 minutes, and you had 15 centimeters of snow. We just had our first snow here the day before yesterday, but it's gone now. Okay, so 5 minutes, just start with the word sleep and just write exactly what thoughts come into your head. Don't try to edit them as you're writing. It doesn't matter the grammar or spelling, doesn't matter. If you start to write a sentence and you're all of a sudden your thought switches to something else, you can just go with that and not worry about it being a run-on sentence or anything like that. So 5 minutes starting right now.
It's 10:15.
Okay, that was 5 minutes. So how did that go? Was it easy? Was it hard? Did you get anywhere unexpected, or was it kind of how you thought it would go? You're welcome to share if there's anything you want to do, or maybe put a couple words in the chat about what general topics you talked about, whatever you'd like. Went well.
Hi.
Hi, oh, Sharon?
Yeah, I haven't been able to attend in quite some time. I'm so glad to be back. I'm a little
Oh, that's
rusty.
you, Sharon.
Yeah.
Hi.
Hi, I'm a little rusty as far as doing some writing, but let's go ahead with this. Okay, the prompt is sleep. So what I wrote today was, as the day grows shorter and the nights grow longer, I find I become drowsy early in the evening. Part of the sleepiness is probably due to the change from daylight savings time to standard. Outside, the earth shares my listless condition with the last of the vegetable garden taken by frost. Only the kale and Swiss chard persist. I've cut back all the frost-damaged plants, preserving a whole 5-gallon pail of green tomatoes and spicy peppers. That's where I ended it today.
That's great. Yeah, so like I was saying, it can be just stream of consciousness can end up kind of random. So like but yours did end up in like a nice little narrative there. So I just want to say to everybody else, like, don't worry if yours isn't like that. But I like how you followed your thoughts of like, why is it because of daylight's the time change and then your experiences in the garden.
So I guess I'll jump in and ask, does anyone have a good recipe for salsa?
We actually have some from my house. We canned some tomatoes this summer. But yeah, maybe we can get you the recipe.
Yeah, I'm just teasing. I've made so many jars already and I have a few more. I have more peppers to use, so I will keep at it for a while.
Man, if we lived in the same place, we could have the salsa tasting.
We can send jars to each other, Rebecca.
See, we started out with sleep and we ended up at salsa. This is how our thoughts work. I'm going to read a couple from the chat. Bird calling all night. How did it sleep? I like that. I started out thinking about how I didn't sleep the best last night, but thinking about the animals in nature, did they have a good night's sleep? About the garden and how you can sleep in storms, reminded you that you're tired. Yeah. How enjoyable sleep can be. Love sleeping in a hammock in Florida. That sounds like fun. I've been in a hammock, but I don't know if I've ever slept in one. I'm surprised how little gets down on the page in 5 minutes, but also how quickly 5 minutes passes. Yeah. Sometimes it's something that can seem like a lot, like write for 5 minutes straight or write for 10 minutes, but it often goes by quicker than you would think. Insomnia and thinking about animals sleeping and the land sleeping that doesn't need to fit into a human pattern of standard hours. Yeah, that's a big topic that at least I've been thinking about. I think it's like we're humans, we're animals, we're part of nature, but where our lives are so ruled by the clocks that's like in this time of year where our bodies are kind of winding down. We don't hibernate, but having more rest. And yet it's at the time of year when things get so busy So it's like, it doesn't really match up. And how do we deal with that? Went full personification and then accidentally slipped from writing they to I. That's interesting. Do you want to expand on that at all?
Well, I can read it for you. I also wrote that I was really surprised how little, like that's 5 minutes of writing. To me, 5 minutes would seem so long, but it went by so quickly. So, okay, I'm gonna make myself a little bit vulnerable here. I'm a teacher, and this is one of the reasons why I'm taking this, because I teach a lot outdoors, and I want my kids to feel vulnerable in sharing. So I'm going to practice what I'm preaching. So the last of the leaves are falling. The trees don't have enough energy left to hold on to items no longer useful. They let the dead weight fall off their arms, releasing them of their fluttering, absent-minded burden. Standing naked, stark against the gray sky, an immovable but vulnerable body prepared for the onslaught of elements to come. But first, rest, a short window of time in which I'm without a care. No agenda, no to-do list of making sap, sprouting buds, pollinating and propagating. Now is a moment only for itself, and the infrequent visitors that come by demand nothing and stay only for a short while before scurrying off to another naked soul. So I guess I was talking about myself and my need for extreme rest.
Yeah, that is so interesting that that happened. And thank you for sharing us. I want to acknowledge again that it can be hard, and it's hard to be vulnerable and to share. But I really like what you just wrote there, and thinking from the tree's perspective. I think that's one of the things that writing can help us with in a way that some ways of nature journaling don't, because when we're thinking in a scientific way, we're just learning about something. But when we can use our imagination, I actually had a whole lesson on this, which if you want to see, it's on my YouTube channel. But you know, there's the idea that personification is bad, but as long as we know that it's just our imagination, you know, we can use our imagination to try to think about what is from the perspective of somebody else, included even if they're not human, and imagine what it would be like and what it would feel like, and develop the empathy. And I guess I should model vulnerability too. So some things are I got a little bit too personal that I'm not going to share. But sometimes one tip I've heard is, you know, sometimes people say, okay, in what you just wrote, what's your favorite sentence that you wrote? But sometimes you can also say, you know, what's the worst sentence or your least favorite sentence you wrote? So I wrote my pen, the ink is flowing nice today. That does not make sense grammatically, but that's what came out. Yeah, the rest is a little bit too personal, but now I'm also modeling how you don't have to share. Let's see. Winter is a season of rest. The thought of a pause, not having a to-do list, different perspective, rest, relax, putting away the day. Sharon, are you trying to talk again?
No, I'm sorry. I was moving the iPad. I must have, I'll mute myself. Sorry.
That's okay. And John, you wrote quite a bit in the chat. You said that you don't have a microphone. I can read it out loud if you'd like. Rest, relax, putting away the day, the inputs, the distractions, categorize the outputs, the takeaways, planning new actions, committing to the future, resolving issues, putting the mind and body at rest, slipping into an outwardly unconscious state as the brain unknowingly reboots. And the other thing I want to point out is how we all started with the same prompt, which was just one word, which was sleep. And a lot of our themes are overlapping, but we also ended up in so many different places, which is why I also want to emphasize that we all have different thoughts, different ourselves that we're bringing to this, and we are going to end up in different places. So just like if you're nature journaling, maybe instead of a word that you start out with, it's an observation or some event in nature that you're writing about. And we might all observe the same phenomena, but the way that we think about it and what we learn about it might be totally different. So, and that we all have different perspectives, and they all matter. Okay, so it's already almost 12:30, but I think this has been a pretty good conversation. I hope you guys are getting as much out of this as I am. So let's go to habitat, which was suggested by Rebecca. So hello, fellow Rebecca. Okay, so everybody get your paper, your writing materials again. I'm gonna put the timer on for 5 minutes again, and starting with the word habitat. So ready, set, go. Okay, believe it or not, that was 5 minutes again. I didn't write the whole time because I was doing some stuff in the background. But then here's what I wrote in the last minute. It's kind of weird and just random words. Because this was what came into my head. Habitat, schmabitat, wildlife gardening, seeds of nature, love the earth. It's our home. One planet habitable for all life. What do you need versus what do you want? Food, shelter, air, water, space. That's what makes a habitat. So the other thing about is we're only doing this for 5 minutes. Another question that a lot of people have is like, how can I do nature journaling when I'm so busy and I only get a couple minutes to go outside and I see these beautiful pages and like I just don't have time to create that. But even if you only have 5 minutes, you can get something down of your observations or your thoughts, and then that's going to be a memory that's recorded that you might have not even noticed or you might have just forgotten about. Thanks, guys. See, that's the kind of thing that I was like, this is weird. I wouldn't want to share this with anybody. But then you guys did like it. So thanks. Yeah, so does anybody else want to share what you read about this time? Habitat, we live in it, encompassing all that we see and hear. We belong to it, respect it, protect it. It is our moral imperative. I like that. It's kind of similar to what I just wrote. It's like got a similar rhythm to it even.
I'd like to share just a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
I've been watching a lot of insects since we're still in Houston and it's still pretty warm out. And I was keying on how to learn about the small habitats, the bark, the leaf litter, the grasses with seeds, and what tools to use for exploring those.
That's such a great question. Yeah, because habitat, when we often learn about habitats, like this is a forest habitat, this is an ocean habitat, but so many creatures. The thing about habitat, gonna get a little bit more sciencey here, is that habitat is technically defined as something different for every species. Like, what does that species need for habitat? And so, yeah, for the little creatures that live under the bark of trees or in the leaf litter, that's exactly right. That's their habitat. And Sarah says that sounds really cool. I love the way you focused on the small things, and I agree. Yeah.
Oh, sorry. Whenever I first started doing it, my first thought was actually a quote that I'm probably quoting incorrectly, but it's from the Mark Shepard book, Restorative Agriculture, if anyone else has read it. There's something in it that he says along the lines of, we're all responsible for creating our own habitat. And I might be quoting it wrong, but it's something along those lines. And I just love that quote. And so I end up just kind of writing about what that means, sort of creating a habitat and being responsible for what is around you.
That's interesting. I haven't read that. And that's another good point too. Sometimes we're like, oh, I can't write down this quote because I think I might have remembered it incorrectly. It's like, but you can still write it. Like, you've got the idea. If you want to fact check something later, you can do that. And then Loretta, I did not forget about you. I saw your comment. Would you like to share now?
Well, mine is kind of practical, I guess. I feel not big thoughts. It is the first major snowfall. Our habitat boundaries start to blur. I look out the window and deer are running down the street. The birds and the squirrels are still in shock, just like the humans. From brown-green grass and bare trees and dreariness, a few days ago, I wake up to a blue, clear sky and a white blanket of snow. My house is full of cooking smells as breakfast seems to be in order. And that's it.
Can we come over?
Sure. We had bacon and eggs and pancakes. We were hungry this morning.
Rebecca, you're muted.
Oh no. Thanks for telling me.
Yeah.
I was just reading some of the comments in the chat, which I guess you've probably all seen anyway. Yeah, so thank you guys for sharing. Would anyone else like to share? Okay, then let's go to another prompt. I see. Oh. Okay, and now Sarah says, I was looking at satellite photos of my home earlier, trying to learn to use iNaturalist, and realized the extent of the monoculture around me. If this is my habitat, then it can't really sustain me as it is. Land use needs to change for the whole planet's benefit. And talk about perspective. Yeah, sorry, I'm scrolling all the way back to the top of the chat to see your guys' suggestions and then keep seeing new chat. So I probably should have taken those and put them somewhere. But I see it, Sarah, is that medicine? Yeah, let's go with that because that was the next one in the suggestions. No, you're good. I just wanted to make sure. Okay. Yeah, let's do medicine for 5 minutes. And I guess let's just clarify because we probably wouldn't originally think, what does that have to do with nature? But a lot of medicine comes from nature. So I think it's pretty interesting to think about that connection. So let's start now. Okay, the timer just went off, but I'm finishing up my thought, so give you guys a chance to finish up your thought too. Hey, would anyone like to share right away? I can share mine again. Oh, Lori, do you want to go ahead?
Yeah, first I want to thank whoever it was that gave this prompt. So speaking of vulnerability, I'm in a hotel room right now. I'm on a medical leave. This is a lot of information for people that I don't know, but I'm going to just say it. So I'm actually at Sunnybrook Hospital. I'm in the middle of radiation treatments, and I feel great. I'm doing well. I'm not in any pain, but my cancer has returned, and so I'm going through this, and I'm leaving right after here to go and have my next session on my liver. So here is a very short little thing, and it captures a little bit of, I don't know, humor that I had the other day while I was lying on the machine. If any of you have had radiation, you lie down on this machine and they do the beams, and it's very, very quick. So at the hospital that I'm in Unit 11, and when you lie down, there is a, well, here, I'll read this and then you can kind of maybe see what I'm talking about. Palm trees swaying in a warm breeze, waves lapping at the shoreline, a cloudless sky above. I breathe, taking myself far away from this place and sliding into the scene above. The reality of this topless beach is far more clinical. I lay here on my back, boobs like 2 fried eggs sliding off a plate, clamped to the table as the machine's word drowns out the muzak that is pumped out Unit 11 speaker. 45 seconds of medicinal beams under a fluorescent lit beachfront. Still, I'm thankful for the scene above and the short respite it provided. And so, like dentists and stuff, when you're in the dental chair and you're looking up, the ceiling tiles above in my particular unit is this beautiful beach scene of swaying palm trees and Adirondack chairs looking out onto the surf, and you're lying there, and I just and you're naked from waist up, and I was just like, there's my topless beach. I'm like lying on a topless beach, and you're supposed to stay perfectly still when you're having these things, and I was trying not to giggle at any rate. So it's kind of like it was a really good little prompt for putting down that experience on paper. So thank you to whoever put that up. And I'm sorry if that was oversharing. That's a lot of information for me to just share and drop the C-bomb.
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. I'm glad that you feel comfortable enough that you could share that, and that the writing helps you to process that experience. And I know at some hospitals and things, they put up like images of nature, but you just imagined it. So like you brought nature to you to kind of help you through that. And I think that's wonderful. And I, yeah. Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I hope that, I'm glad that you're feeling well, and I hope that everything goes well.
Am I unmuted?
Yeah, do you want to go
Okay.
ahead, Mary?
Hi, I'm fairly new to the group, but I just wanted to thank Lori for sharing all that. I'm a nurse practitioner, so that's really hits my heart that you're in that situation. I'm so sorry, but I must say you are a fabulous writer. I mean, it's poetry and prose that was just beautiful. So thanks for sharing. I just said, I'll share mine. It's very simple. It's the medicine of the forest is invisible. How can you capture the feeling of calmness in a capsule or tablet? We can experience the medicinal properties of the scents of the dying leaves, the sounds of boots crunching on the ground, and the experience of being in nature. So I hope you do okay, Lori. I'm sorry.
I like how yours you compared the medicine of like the feeling of calm you get from being out in the forest. So you can't put that in a pill. Here's what I wrote. Medicine plants come from nature. What % of our medicines come from nature? I forgot. Herbs, rainforests, healers, and indigenous tribes. There's a girl who's 12 years old who can identify every type of leaf in the rainforest just from a fragment, and she knows what the medicine is for and how to prepare it. And it seems miraculous to us, but I always wonder if we could do that, if we didn't have to remember so many passwords. I think about that a lot, but I don't know if I had written it down before.
Yeah, so I kind of went in a different direction and thought about the mental health or wellness aspect of nature. Not so much the physical curing, I guess, but more prevention.
Yeah, that's another way to think about it. Thank you. Medicine, who is medicine? What does it fix? How does it fix? Diagnosis is the key. Heal thyself, someone said, don't know who. Love thyself, maybe then look for a pill. I wrote about plants in my garden with the medicine uses in folklore. That's really cool. So we're almost at the end of the hour. I'm just gonna do a couple announcements and then I can we can chat more if anybody wants to stay a couple more minutes, but I also want to respect your time. So I just wanted to say thank you for coming. So coming up next week, we're doing something about writing your own Thanksgiving address. So I'm in the US, it's Thanksgiving next Thursday, which is a big holiday. I know not everybody is from the US, but the Thanksgiving address actually doesn't have to do with the holiday Thanksgiving. It's something that comes from the Haudenosaunee people of where I live. And it's something that they do every single time that they gather. So like every time they're come in the school day, for example, or they're going to make a decision. It's basically going through all the categories of nature, like the people, the earth, the waters, the plants, the animals, etc., and recognizing them and thanking them, and just bringing all of our minds together in gratitude to start off whatever that we're doing together. So I thought it'd be great if we could all kind of write our own versions based on whatever we observe in nature where we live. And then that's something that we could share. If you want to share it with your families, if you're having a Thanksgiving dinner, You know, I know in my family, we always go around and say, what are you thankful for this year? But, and that's probably, well, I'll explain more next week. And so then that's just a preview. And then the week after, so there's something called Remembrance Day for Lost Species, which is on November 30th. And so we're going to have a session that's called Eulogy for Lost Species. That's about kind of recognizing all of that and to be able to process our feelings and our grief about it. Because I think that's really important, because I think so often it can be emotionally and mentally really difficult to care about nature. And it often feels like we hear about all these bad things happening and nobody else cares, and you're supposed to just kind of move on and forget about it. But that's, I think, I just want to create a space where we can acknowledge everything and to be together in that and get to process some of those feelings so that we can then try to do mainly to process, but then also we can think about like, what can we do for the species that are still around? So that's the next 2 weeks. Not sure yet what's going to come up after that. And then I'm going to put a couple of links into the chat. So I just put into the chat, I have a bunch of recordings of past workshops up on my YouTube channel if you want to watch those and follow along with the activities. I also have, so if you'd like to give a donation for this workshop, that's always appreciated, but this is a free workshop for everybody. You can come whether you donate or not. And what John Laws likes to say, which I borrowed, is that if not, then maybe you can pass on an act of kindness to somebody else. I also have a free mini ebook called Science and Imagination, Exploring Words in Your Nature Journal. So you can get that if you subscribe to my newsletter. I just send little tips and activities, usually on Sundays, no spam or anything, and you can unsubscribe anytime. So that's actually one of the best ways if you want to help support me, is to do that. And oh, one other thing, Sarah, who's here on my screen, told me about this really cool free online festival that's going on. That's called the Yorkshire Festival of Story. I went to a couple of the events that's happening this week up until I think the 22nd, and it's really cool and it's completely free. So I'm just gonna get that and put that in the link put that link in the chat for you, just in case you want to check it out. So that's all. Thanks again for coming. And does anybody have any other questions or thoughts to share? I can stay for a few more minutes.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you for coming.
Thanks very much. That was really, really wonderful introduction to this. I've never gone to any of your events. And so I just, as you were chatting, I was looking you up. I was stalking you. And so I've subscribed to your channel, and I was taking a look at your webpage. Amazing work. And I wanted to ask, have you heard of a woman? Her name is Gillian Judson, and she wrote The Walking Curriculum.
The Walking Curriculum?
The Walking Curriculum. And she's a professor at Simon Fraser University in British Columbia. And I've been chatting with her a lot recently. She wrote a book called The Walking Curriculum, very thin little book for forest practitioners. And well, actually for any educator, because she wants to even get teachers out of the four walls from kindergarten to postdoc. She just wants to get people outside. So this particular curriculum is K to 12, but all it is a series of prompts of things that a teacher or facilitator is able to do when we go out for our walks with our students or our groups. And I'll send you, or I'll write down, I'll find the link before I go, but she is like, it's really quite interesting, the work she does. And then she has every month or so, like these huge Twitter storms where forest practitioners, most of them are from British Columbia, but it is starting to seep down into the United States. It's gaining traction really quickly here because it's so linked and it's open-ended and student-centered and student-led. So just like a prompt for the writing today, you might go out looking for, like the prompt might be lines. Look for lines while you are on your walk. And what that will, so some kids start getting into the tree lines or the lines of the sidewalk they're walking on, or whatever it is, because it could be for urban, it could be for rural, it doesn't matter, and fence lines, whatever. And but then it can go in any way that the students take it. So they might be talking about lines, and then, you know, they're talking about the line of the cloud, and then all of a sudden everybody's looking at clouds and what animals they see in the clouds or whatever. You just don't know where it's going to go. But it's just this initial prompt. And she belongs to, or started up, or heads a department in the Faculty of Education at Simon Fraser University on imagination and the role of the important role of imagination in education. So I just thought, as like your approach and her approach are really well, like they're very in tune, I think. And the emphasis that you put on in terms of the freedom of expression, the freedom to be able to drop what you're doing and going into a new place, and the importance of imagination and just allowing that flow. You might really be interested in her work. So I'll just
I was muted. Yeah,
oh, I'm just trying to think.
that sounds amazing. Thank you for sharing that. I'm definitely gonna look into that.
Her finger. That's her Twitter her twiddle handle.
What university did you say she's at?
Sorry?
Which university did you say she's at?
Simon Fraser.
I just wondering, this is off topic, but I'm actually thinking about applying to graduate school, but I'm trying to, there's a program that I'm really interested in, but I'm trying to look up what else is out there? Did I miss anything that I should be, or that not should, because I don't like that word, but is there anything else that I need to look into? So
I think she supervises 3 or 4 graduate students right now, and they are all very active students. So I don't know, I think I'm not sure if they're in their masters or their PhDs, maybe a mix of both, but it seems to me that she gives them an awful lot of freedom to move and do what they're going to do in their studies, and then hands over the reins to them. So when she's sitting on, say, a panel, her grad students are right there with her, right? Like so they're very, I think she's very much of, that reciprocity between the pedagogy and like who's the teacher, who's the student, and we're co-learning and all of that kind of stuff. It seems to me that she really embraces that kind of pedagogy. So it might be worth your while. And international fees for Americans coming to Canadian universities is probably less than the tuition at an American university to begin with. So, and BC's gorgeous.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I'll definitely look into her because that curriculum sounds awesome.
Yeah, and her colleagues too work all in this idea of imagination, capturing imagination as the base of problem solving, and yeah, it looks really good.
Yeah.
I think this is the hashtag that they use to so I think that's it. So if you go onto Twitter and you type in the Imagine Ed chat, then you should get all of the previous conversations that have come up with the Twitter storms that she does, and link in with a lot of Canadian practitioners. And the forest school stuff up here is pretty amazing. And the Indigenous content and Indigenous led stuff is really heavy.
Oh, do you know about Natural Curiosity?
Yes, yeah.
I had just learned about that at the NAAEE conference a few weeks ago. There was a presentation from them, and I thought that sounds so good.
And they are amazing. And I have that. I've purchased those resources, and right now I just saw it yesterday. They are starting an online program. I think it's a self-directed.
I saw that too.
Program.
Five free video lessons.
Yes, and then you have a certification of completion, and it's really that heavy emphasis on Indigenous learning, and it's written by and for and from and to. It's really heavy on the Indigenous content, and it's fantastic. It's fantastic. I've gone to a number of. There's the Council of Outdoor Educators of Ontario, so I'm part of that group, and they have 2 conferences a year. Of course, through COVID, we haven't been meeting, but they have 2 conferences a year. One, where are you located, Rebecca?
I'm in Syracuse.
Oh, geesh. Okay, so I'm like 3 hours away. So yeah. So we're Kingston, Ontario. I'm 45 minutes west of Kingston. So Kingston, you just pop over the border, you're in Watertown, and then 2 hours you get to Syracuse, and 2.5 hours maybe. And I've been to Syracuse a number of times, but and I love Ithaca and the Finger Lakes.
Yes.
The North State parks in New York are so gorgeous, and all the Thousand Islands and everything. We live in a beautiful part of the world. But they have, anyway, the Council of Outdoor Education Ontario, COEO, they have these 2 conferences a year at different facilities. And one is Make Peace with Winter, and it's a winter outdoor ed conference. And then the other one is in the fall. So we'll have to keep in touch. I can let you know when those conferences are, and I'd be happy to host you.
Really?
It's amazing. It's amazing. And the authors of The Natural Curiosity, what we were just discussing, that's having the 5-part, Natural Curiosity, sorry. But they do talks there. So she usually hosts different talks and breakout groups and stuff. Yeah, really incredible people. Yeah. So that's I think COEO, their Twitter handle is just like this. But yeah, really amazing stuff that they do. And they also write, they have their own newsletter. And the other is, do you know Green Teacher, the magazine Green Teacher?
I think I did hear of it a while ago, but I haven't looked at it.
Yeah, so
recently.
I think they've got a podcast now too, but it's the largest outdoor ed publication in the world that is just about either environmental education and or outdoor learning. Ian, who is the editor for that magazine, he doesn't live too far from me, but it is a fantastic resource too. Yeah, it's very, very good. So anyway, just some resources for you to think about, but I'll definitely be seeing you again. And
Yay!
yeah, I'm taking some time off until the new year because as I'm only halfway through, today's my halfway point through my treatments, and then I'm going to start feeling pretty tired. Yeah, I'm taking some time off, so I want to use my time wisely by resting, but then also when you're used to being outside and working with lots of kids and you're busy, the days can be very slow and not very intellectually stimulating. So by doing things like this, it helps me become a better practitioner because I want to start. I'm with pre-writers or really early emergent writers. So, and a lot of my students are not risk takers with their writing. So I want to, nature is very forgiving, and we go to our sit spots every day, or sorry, at least once a week, we're in our sit spots, and they're only 5 and 6 years old. And so they're just learning how to find a sit spot and stay there and not be with their friends. And it's amazing after only, doing it a few times this year, how much I'm seeing these little kids craving and starving for alone time in the woods. Like here, I thought, because I didn't put any limits on them. I didn't say you have to sit for 5 minutes and like, but today's a mystery. We're going to go out into the woods and you're going to find your very own special magical spot. And you can stay there as long as you want. The only rule is you can't go to anybody else's spot and nobody can come into your spot. That's the only rule. And
hey, sorry, I just need Christian, I saw your comment. I don't know that writer, but I'll definitely look that up too.
Me too. I'm gonna write it down.
Yeah, thank you for coming. And I just wanted to make sure you knew I saw that before you left. And hopefully I'll see you again. It's good to see you again today.
Yes, I didn't want to interrupt you, but Laurie, I'm a teacher for writing and creative writing as well in Germany, but I learned all my stuff from American writing teachers, and Gabriele Rico book, I didn't know whether Rebecca or you know it, writing The Natural Way, works very lot with stream of consciousness and associative writing, and some kind of, perhaps it's useful for you to kind of mixture between writing and drawing. Because sometimes when we are writing with our hands and sometimes we get stuck and don't know what we could write about. And I had this experience by this medicine prompt, and I wrote how many plants give us medicine. And then I didn't know something to write. But I don't know whether you see it. It's only the move of my pencil to move, and then words came up. It's interesting, but it's works most of the time. And then the word healing came up, and then nature, and then going out. And then I picked this going out and wrote going out is medicine, you can bath in the forest, and so on. So only to, I think it's a nice tool to keep going in the flow, in a writing flow. And Laurie, I think it's very interesting to do to take writing as a tool for you to support yourself in this time, this hard time you're going through now. It's I do classes for people to write from their soul, to support themselves in crisis and so on. And you can do this for yourself, and I think you will very much benefit from it.
Where do you host your classes?
In Germany.
Are they online, or you're going into places to?
Some of them are online, but in German. So, but in my experience, you can do this even when you are weak and a bit drowsy or something from these treatments, or really down, and you can only do some words about what came into your mind, and perhaps it could be something. I think it's typical what you experienced with this funny thing about you. There are crazy things in this terrifying things hidden, and sometimes laughing and crying is very much close.
Yes.
And so and in writing you can do everything and put things together, and nobody can tell you don't do this. And I think it's a very nice space to have something for yourself and to do something for yourself.
Yeah, I think you're right. It's really liberating, and it's liberating and it's private, but it's also an opportunity. Like, I do have a very dark sense of humor, and but I think a lot of that humor is really profound, because you see how absurd life can be.
Yes.
And that some of the most difficult things are actually very, very funny. Like, it's just, it's because they're so absurd. It's just so absurd. And some of the things that are really well-meaning backfire. Like, it will make no sense. And then there's things too about writing that you're able to do and say that you normally wouldn't say to another person, which
Yes.
like and not always because it's so personal and that you're making yourself vulnerable. I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve anyway. That's just my personality. But for sharing today, for example, the reason I hold myself back from sharing is not because of my own vulnerability, but the topic can end up grinding everybody to a halt. And so it's like you don't want to say anything, because now, oh, I'm going to talk about my cancer, and then nobody else after that is willing to share because somebody talked about their cancer. So, you don't want to. And so I think for a lot of people, for the person who's ill, which I don't feel like I'm sick, but for the person who is having the medical thing going on, you don't want, first of all, define yourself by that. So when you it's kind of like coming out of the cancer closet. So when you say this, now everybody in a group knows you as the cancer patient.
Yes.
So you
So
don't
it
want,
sticks on you wherever you go. Yes.
right. And so you don't want to say anything because you don't want that to be your defining feature. But at the same time, if you don't say anything, you feel like you're lying, or you're not, like how many months will I go to the writing group? And then, 6 months later you say, oh yeah, I got my results back, and then you just feel like a jerk. So yeah, like today I just thought, okay, well, these people don't know me at all, and I'm just going to say it, and we're going to see what happens.
I think
So thank you for that outlet.
Thank you for having
Yes,
courage to
thank you.
share. I totally relate to what you're saying about, like, yes, part of it is the vulnerability. Part of it is you just don't want to be a downer.
Right.
You're afraid that you're going to drag everybody down. And,
Yeah.
And sometimes it happens like that, but sometimes it's, there are other people who are also struggling, and then they're like, oh, it's okay for me to talk about this too.
Yeah.
And like a couple weeks ago, I was like feeling really, really depressed and some kind of hard time with like my mental health lately. And so like I shared that here a little bit, and I think people were like, oh yeah, I'm having a hard time too.
Mhm.
And also like I can't totally relate to what you're going through. It's different, but I also have a chronic illness, which is one that I was born with. And I also really relate to what you're saying, is like, do I share this? Do I not? Because like I want to be honest, and I want to, but I also don't want people to then just immediately think of me as the sick person.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's really crappy for dating. Yeah, it's like, when do I tell this person? Or job interviews and things like that. It's like, yeah.
It's like, oh yeah, yes, I can do all the work, but actually maybe I can't. And then how do you deal with that?
Yeah, I can do the work, but I might be taking significant amount of time off during relapses, or and I think in in Canada and Germany as well, there's a much stronger safety net for people with chronic illness. And in Ontario, where I am, they call it catastrophic disease, which I think is hilarious. So it's just me and my catastrophic disease. So there's a lot of laws to protect employees if they're ill. Whereas depending on what state people live in, like in Texas and stuff, the Right to Work Act and things like that, that just, oh, you're sick, you're gone. And so I think it might be harder for some Americans in some states, depending on their insurance. And I don't know how you guys live with it all.
I mean, I think New York is pretty good, and things are definitely better than they used to be. Like when I was younger, my mom said it used to be a battle with the insurance, like every week, like every time I needed to refill my medication and get anything. And it is a big deal for me right now because I'm 24 years old. So in a year and a half, I won't be able to be on my parents' insurance anymore. And I'm trying to figure that out. But it's kind of scary right now.
The one thing that the United States is far ahead of Canada, way, way ahead, is at least you have a national, the American Disability Act.
Oh yeah.
And thank goodness. In Canada, we do not have anything like this at a national level. We have other things at our disposal, but for people with, chronic congenital issues, especially invisible types of things, it can be really, really hard. And yeah, it's at least with the ADA, there's things that are much better off in the States.
I'm thankful for that.
Yeah, and it's too bad that we can't just learn from each other of what works in our systems and what doesn't work, and then take from other systems and build something that's really, really comprehensive for everybody. But yeah, and there's always the I don't know in Germany, but here we always have, it's a smaller fragment of society, but there's always a push to privatize and to take things out of the roster that's covered by our universal health care, and having private clinics open up for certain things, and it's a huge fight all the time to protect universal health care, even though it's backed by the vast majority of Canadians. You still have to fight to protect it. Is it that way in Germany too?
I don't think so. We have this kind of rehabilitation centers and such things. I hope you get something after your treatment someplace where you can kind of recreate yourself in some ways. Yes, there are private clinics, okay, but they are very expensive. So you have, I think, both sides here.
Like a two-tier. Yeah, we do for anything that's kind of non-essential. Well, quote unquote non-essential. Yeah, so physiotherapy, occupational therapy, massage therapy, are all chiropractic care.
Yes.
That's all
Many
considered
kinds of
complementary.
things we have to pay for ourselves.
Yeah, so it sounds very similar.
Yes,
but our private insurance, like my insurance through my work, will cover all of those things, and prescriptions and all of that kind of stuff. But yeah, like now going for my radiation, that's all covered. Like there's no expense, there's no bill, there's nothing. You just go. And I have no idea even what it costs. No clue. You just go and get it done.
That sounds fantastic. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay. Yes.
At any rate, I will see you again. Maybe not next week. I don't know what's going to happen, but I'll see you again, and I'll certainly keep in touch, Rebecca. And thank you for an excellent,
Thank you so much.
workshop. You're
I
definitely
feel
in the right field.
I feel really honored that you want to make the best of your time that you have off, and I feel really honored that you chose to come here today. So I'm really glad that you got a lot out of it. By the way, the recording is still going. I can cut this whole conversation if you want, if I put this online.
It doesn't matter to me. No, it doesn't matter. I guess actually, you know what? Maybe if you do chop off this segment, only because I see that my name is with my face, and I was talking about some personal health care stuff. So personally, I don't care. But if it gets uploaded and you have some weirdo that wants to do, like any identity theft or trying to, do weird things with people's names and personal health information,
perhaps
maybe
it's safer. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. I could, in the part during the main session, I could cut out too if you want.
No, I don't. That's not so bad. I'm just that all of this talking, I think maybe we can edit out if you don't mind.
Yeah, I don't want to share anything that you want to be private.
But no, during the actual course part of it, I think that's fine. It wasn't too in depth about my own health. But yeah, it's all good.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Rebecca. I enjoyed this class very much. It was much fun.
Yeah,
And I
thank
can
you.
improve my English and I can write about nature. What more can I want? Can I wish for? Thank you.
That's
Thank
true.
you. I can't wait to see you both
See you
again.
guys next week. Bye.
Keep up the
Or
good
no,
work.
or whenever. Bye.
Bye.